Let's bring in my Monday panel, LNP MP Keith Pitt, and change today, the Senior Environment Minister, Senator Jonathon Duniam. Well, gents, welcome. Gas experts warning, despite all the gas in the ground, we may well have to import LNG as the East Coast faces living shortages. Of course, this will drive up the price of domestic gas. Keith, the industry is saying, fingers crossed, they're hoping and praying we'll get through what's expected to be a warm summer and winter next year, but hoping and praying is no energy strategy, is it?
Hopes and prayers will never top engineering, physics and economics, Peter. And what will we see now? We'll see contracted gas out of Gladstone turned around in the ship and sent to Victoria because Victoria doesn't develop its own gas. I mean, what a ridiculous scenario. We are one of the biggest exporters of gas in the world. And now we find ourselves in a situation because state governments won't do what's necessary, where we're going to have to utilise someone else's gas to keep the lights on in Victoria. It's ridiculous.
Senator, this gold mine fiasco has not gone away. Even today, there's more out there. We know that Regis warned the Prime Minister. They wrote directly to the Prime Minister that an Indigenous heritage order would kill off the mine. Warren Mundine, he's concerned about the integrity of the decision. This Aboriginal corporation, 18 only members, sort of outranking the local land council. He says it stinks like a bad smell. What do you think?
Well, it does stink like a bad smell. I mean, let's be honest. If you've united the Labor Premier, Labor Environment Minister, the EPA, the local Aboriginal Land Council, Roy RC or Wiradjuri Elder and the federal opposition, you must be getting something wrong. And for the government to continue to persist with this mad idea that they did the right thing to allow this company to get to this stage, having for 5 years worked on federal and state environmental and planning approvals and getting all of them, including working with local Indigenous groups to secure every approval they needed, to at this point knock it on the head just smacks of something very wrong in Tanya Plibersek's thinking. And I think it comes down to one thing, and that is pursuing green votes in her electorate in Sydney at the expense of regional jobs and, of course, that much-needed economic boost in regional Australia.
Keith, about now I start to look at the pattern of travel of the two leaders because we could be in an election imminently. I don't think we will be, but certainly it's on the cards before the end of the year, certainly by May next year. And I'm watching how often the Prime Minister's forced to get over to Perth. I think he's in real trouble in Perth. What are you hearing?
I'd like to think he's in real trouble everywhere, Peter. Every state and every territory. That'd make me feel a lot better. But Western Australia is a problem for them because it's a resource state, just like Queensland. And the resources sector knows that this is a government that prefers the green vote. It would rather fund the Environmental Defender's Office than the Beetaloo Basin. And we see these announcements today around AUKUS and apprentices. Well, what's wrong with the ones that you'd put on a block of concrete on shore? What about apprentices for those? I think there's opportunities there as well. But the Australian people won't be fooled. And I think this Labor government, it is on the nose.
I think you're right there. Parks Victoria, Senator Duniam, reportedly using hidden spy cameras. These are buried in the bush or put on a rock face in order to catch out people who are, say, climbing the rock at the Grampians National Park, because there's now in place all these cultural heritage bans and climbers have been warned off, areas have been closed off. But, I mean, to have spy cameras, I think is extraordinary.
Well, it is, but this is an extraordinary government, Peter. I mean, you've got rapists, murderers, horrible people out there doing terrible things in the community, and their priority is to spend that taxpayers' money, which is fast running out in the state of Victoria, as we saw in their recent budget. They've well overspent what they have available to them on spy cameras in national parks to enforce cultural heritage laws. I mean, I think it is ridiculous, to close off parts of our country to people who should be able to access it. These bans on access, I do think, are a terrible thing. But then to have these sort of hidden cameras and cultural heritage police enforcing it, what's wrong with our country? What a waste of money, and they should stop doing it immediately.
National parks aren't national enough. They're not certainly open to all Australians, it would seem. Gentlemen, thank you. See you both next week.